Welcome back to Personal Branding in Motorsports. I'm TJ Fry, and if you're new to this channel, I bring you into the world of professional driving, along with tips and tricks to help you grow your brand, sign sponsors, and build your career behind the wheel. Today, I want to talk to you about something that's very important to me and should be to you, which is never taking out debt to go racing. Here we go! Alright guys, let's just jump straight into it. First and foremost, if you're not aware already, you never take on debt to go racing. That's a hard and fast rule. Let me tell you why I feel that way. First of all, you should know I did it. Alright, I took on debt to go racing. I spent tens of thousands of dollars to build a race car, to build, well, I guess a drift car, but to build cars, to go racing, buy tires, drive to these events. I live in Montana, so of course traveling to these events is a huge expense. Fuel, building the car, materials, time, entry fees. Oh my God, it all adds up so much. And to be completely transparent with you, it's not something I'm proud of, but it's something that I'm still paying for. Every single month I have to make a pretty significant payment to pay off the debt that I incurred trying to start my race program. All right? Take it from someone that's done it. Don't take on debt to go race. It's not worth it. I want to break down why it's not worth it, okay? This is very simple, average, everyday stuff that anyone can look up, but I don't think most of us ever take the time to really do it. So let's say, for example, you wanted to go race, all right? You find a set of coilovers for your car, and that's what I go to because they're about $1,000, all right? But it could be anything. Tires, a new turbo, whatever, something that's about $1,000. Now, let's say you put it on a credit card. Chances are, if you're watching my channel, you're in the 18 to 24 age group. Comment down below, actually. Let me know how old you are. I'm curious to know. But the thing is, when you take on debt, you pay what's called interest. If you're not aware of how that works, you definitely shouldn't be taking out debt or using credit cards to go racing. But I digress. Interest is very simple. When you borrow money, when you pay that, if it takes you any time at all to pay that money back to the credit card or to the bank or the loan, whoever loaned you the money, they charge you a percentage interest. So if you borrow $100 and the interest is 10%, you pay them an extra $10 every year, APR, which is annual percentage rate. Every year you pay them $10 to have borrowed that $100. It breaks down by there for a month and it can get a little bit confusing per day, blah, blah, blah. Point being, you pay money to borrow money. If you don't have the money, don't fucking spend it. That's the easiest way to avoid this. But let's go ahead and break it down, all right? So let's say here I am looking at my interest rates, all right? So if I go and look at the average credit card purchase interest rate, and this is as of recently this is from valuepenguin.com, all right? May or may not be reputable, but I can tell you my own personal interest rates are very, very comparable to these rates, okay? I'm 30 years old with pretty good credit. My credit score is definitely good. It's borderline excellent. And I gotta tell you, even with that, my rates are still pretty high. So I have a decent established credit history and a good credit score, and I still don't get some of these low rates, all right? So here's your credit card, your typical credit card rates. Travel rewards cards. Now, like for me, I have like an airline card that I use, right? So on the low end, they say that's 15.62%. Okay, on the high end, that's 19.24%. Honestly, ours is like 17 or 18%, somewhere in that ballpark. That means for every $100 I borrow every year, I have to pay $17 or $18 on top of paying back that $100. So it costs me 17 or 18 bucks to borrow $100 for a year. That's ridiculous. This happened back in it really went up back in 2008, 2009, something like that, when Obama came into office, and one of the first things he did, which I commend him for, was we need to eliminate these, we're going to essentially come in and say, credit card companies can't just raise their rates without warning. They used to be like single-digit rates. And overnight, the credit card companies saw this coming and they said, okay, we're just going to crank them up. And so they jacked them up to 20+%, like high teens, 20, 21, 22%. That was an unforeseen consequence of this new law. So ultimately, now they can't jack them up, but they're already really high to begin with. So even if you have really good credit, you still have a really high credit rate, or interest rate rather. So as you're coming into this, airline and hotel, they sit at, somewhere in the neighborhood of like 14 or 15%, all the way up to 22%. Cashback credit cards, student credit cards. I mean, these are all between 13 and 23%, okay? To give you an idea, most people's home loans are between like 3 and 7%, okay? When you buy a home, that's what you pay every month on the interest for your mortgage. So if I'm just doing simple math here, that means that every time I borrow $1,000 or $100 rather, so here, I'm going to do this right now, okay? So I borrow $100 for a year, okay? If I borrow $100 for 1 year, that means that at my current rate, which is about, I'm just going to say 18%. But you know what? Let's use a round number. Let's say 20%, okay? 20% of $100, that is $20 per year in interest. And of course, plus the $100 I actually borrowed means I have to pay back $120. Okay, so 20% interest, I have to pay back an extra $20 for that $1,000 if I borrow it for a year. Now, if you're smart about it and you use credit cards and you know that you can pay that credit card off at the end of every month, you don't have to pay any interest on those loans. And then credit cards can become a good thing because you build your credit. However, I highly recommend, especially if you're young and you're not familiar with how credit works, just avoid credit cards at all costs. Pay with money that you have. It's the safest way to do it, all right? I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm telling you, mistakes that I've made and mistakes that I have honestly continued to make into my adult life, it's hard to be good at this stuff. So educate yourself on it, be smart, learn the stuff you need to learn, and don't go into debt to race. So let's say you find that $1,000 set of coilovers, right? Well, $1,000 is just an extra zero on top of our $100 up here, right? So if I just add another zero, I just add another zero down here. That means now I'm paying $200 a year in interest. And when I go to pay that $1,000 back at the end of the year, I have to pay an extra $200 just to be able to borrow that $1,000 and get something that I can't afford now. Is that really worth it to you? I mean, the crazy thing to me is that, and this is perpetual, like if you don't pay that off right away or within that year, it just adds up. It keeps going. So those minimum payments just get absolutely bonkers. Let's take a look at some other examples. All right, so if we look at, say you go to the bank and you go, I want to get a personal loan, which is different than a credit card, okay? You go to the bank, you say, I want a personal loan for $10,000. And you're able to get it, right, through whatever means. Maybe you leverage a vehicle of yours, or you put some property up as collateral, like a truck or a trailer, or your house. I don't know, anything, right? You put something up as collateral, or the bank just says you have good credit, we'll give it to you. Here is what you can expect to pay on a personal loan, your interest rate on a personal loan. So your average personal loan rate interest for $10,000 loan for a 3-year term, okay? You are going to pay, with excellent credit, you're going to pay about 4.5%, 4.25%. If you have fair credit, 10.5%. If you have poor credit, 25%. That's huge, a quarter of what you borrow. That means if you pay that back, you're going to end up paying over $2,500 in credit if you're able to get that loan with poor credit. Even if you have good credit and you get a 5% interest rate, that means that you're paying back $500 every single year to borrow that money, and that's for 3 years. So if you wait until the end of that whole thing, you end up paying like $1,500 in interest to borrow that money. That's so much money. There's your coilovers right there. Like honestly, you just bought an extra set of coilovers and then some to be able to do it. Don't do this. Do not go into debt to go racing. Know how much this costs you. This stuff is crazy. That's how they keep you in debt. That's how they keep the whole country in debt, is they tease you with like, oh, look at all the stuff you can get. You can get miles for every purchase you get. You can get free stuff. We'll give you cash back for every purchase you make. And then it encourages you to make these purchases, which I've been guilty of. And you rack up all this debt, and it's like, oh yeah, now I have this debt. But now they let you get the stuff that you want right now. It's that instant gratification. But now you're paying interest. Not only are you paying for those products or for the stuff that you bought, now you're paying extra on top of it just to some institution that was like, yeah, we'll let you get what you want, but you're gonna have to pay us. They're all loan sharks. Banks, loaners, all of the stuff. They're all loan sharks. They're looking to get your money. Don't fall for it. Save up money, even if it means saving a little bit longer. All right, let's take a look at yet another example. Okay, so we looked at personal loans here. Average monthly payment for excellent credit, even with good credit, for a $10,000 loan is $300 a month. That's on a 3-year term. For 36 months to pay that back, you're paying about $300. Now, if I do this math, we're saying $297 a month times 36 months. Let's see what this is. So again, $297 a month times 36 months. I'm going to do this right here so that you can see me. I'm going to get my calculator open here. So 297 is really hard to do at this angle. 297 times 36 equals $10,692. That means if you make the minimum payment for those 36 months, you're paying $692. So almost $700 just to borrow that 10 grand. So it costs you $700 to borrow $10,000 just to borrow it. That's crazy. Why would you spend that $700 when you don't have to? It's nuts. If you can be patient and can save money, it's going to save you a lot of money in the long run. Wait the extra 6 months or a year, or whatever it takes you to save that money. It's going to be worth it. Then, all right, let's look at something else here. So we go to how much interest do you pay for every $1,000 of debt? All right, so remember, we were talking about about 5% APR for a personal loan. Okay, that's on the low end. So here we go, 5% of APR costs about $4 a month. 6% costs about $5 a month, okay? So let's say that, just for math's sake, because honestly, if you get better than a 6% loan, I'm going to be kind of jealous if you get better than the 6% on your loan. But that being said, if you get 6% on your loan, that costs you about $5 a month in interest on every $1,000 you borrow. Okay, so what that means is if you take a year to pay that back, that $1,000 for your coilovers or tires or whatever it is that you buy, if you take a year to pay that back, you're paying roughly $60. $5 a month, 12 months, $60, just so that you can get it now. Is that really worth it? Save for a couple extra months and save that money. And also, this compounds as well. So even though you might pay it down, it's going to end up being more than $60. All right. Now let's say it's on the other side. Let's say you borrow some money from a credit card, right? So here's the deal. We come back over and we look at our rate, and we're looking on average, we're going to go with that same number, 20%. That's about $16.67 per month for every $1,000 you borrow. So let's come back to our calculator. Real simple here. Let's come back, we'll get rid of our $10,000 number. We'll go $16.67 times 12 months. $200. So you're going to pay $200 in interest in that 1 year just so that you can borrow $1,000 and get those coilovers or those tires or whatever's $1,000. $200 just because you couldn't wait. You really think that's worth it? That $200 could have gone a long way. That could have bought you like a couple track days. That could have bought you fuel and an event entry fee at like 4 autocrosses. That could have bought you seat time at multiple events. That could have bought you fuel and food and everything to do a high performance track day? Are you willing to give up 1 or 2 track days or even like multiple autocross events just so that you can have something now that you could save up for and get later? It doesn't make sense to me. I can't implore you enough. I made these mistakes, all right? I went into debt to go racing. And I have to tell you, on top of just feeling like a schmuck when you do this, it puts a huge strain on your relationships. And I mean that in a marriage or if you've got a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whatever, a significant other of any kind, when you start saying like, yeah, I just dropped 10 grand on a race car and I didn't anticipate it being that expensive, and now we got to pay interest on this and it's going to end up costing us an extra $2,000. So it's really going to cost us like 12 grand. Like, oh shit, like I didn't think about this. I didn't put the thought into it. If that person stays with you, I don't care what the laws are in your state, fucking marry that person. Danny put up with my dumbass financial decisions for years, and I'm not putting her through it anymore. I've made these mistakes, you guys. Don't do this shit. Do not go into debt to race. If you need something new for your car, let's go back through these personal branding and motorsports videos and figure out what we can do to get you what you need. Send me a message on Facebook. Send me a message on Instagram. Send me an email. Send me anything. I will do whatever I can to help you figure out what it is that you need and get it for your vehicle or for your program or what have you. We'll make it work, all right? But it's up to you. You can't take the easy way out because it will ruin your future in this industry. I promise you that. Unless you win the lottery, in which case, good on you. Call me because I'd love to borrow some money. Anyway, that's about all I got for the day. Just remember, please, from the bottom of my heart, do not ever take on debt to go racing. It's not worth it. Go out there, buy a cheap car, buy something you can afford to drive. Don't buy the nicest car you can get and never be able to drive it. I've done that shit too, all right? All the mistakes out there, I may act and talk like I know what I'm talking about, but it's because I've made all of these mistakes. Please, from the bottom of my heart, listen to me. I've made these mistakes. Don't do them yourselves. Be smarter than I was. Be better than I was. Be further along than I was when you hit my age, which is 30, almost 31. I expect all kinds of great opportunities within the next few years of your career as long as you're willing to be intelligent and plan. And the first thing that you do is admit that you may not be able to afford something. So anyways, that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to preach to you guys anymore. Please be smart with your money. Have fun. Remember, do what drives you. And I will see you guys in the next one. Have a great evening. Bye-bye. Bloop. Did I preach enough on that one? I feel like maybe I need to do a little bit more preaching. Let's drink some beer. Oh, that's Sapporo in a can, by the way. I'm in Boston. Evidently, they like Japanese beer in Boston. Here I am saying, like, don't have one vice, which is buy shit you can't afford, but it's totally okay to have another one because this is alcohol and that's socially acceptable. This is the face of a financial idiot. Don't be like this, all right? I'd be way further ahead if I was smarter with my money when I first started. I implore you, do not go into debt to go racing. It's not worth it. No matter how awesome it is, it's not worth it.